Now that these logs are 2.5 years old, I want to find out, does firewood truly season in this form? And that is reading 37%. Not even close, way off. Let me know what this one feels like when you cut into it. It might be a little too far gone.
Okay.
That looks solid.
It is.
Yeah. Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. We have finally worked our way through this massive pile of logs here. It's been about 2 years. I thought it was originally going to take between 6 and 9 months, but it took us a little over 2 years. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we've got about 30 acres of woods, and we had it thinned back in April of 2023. It is now June of 2025, and we are just now getting through all these logs. Main reason for that is we just have so many other things going on here on the property besides firewood that it's hard to carve out time to come down here and just make firewood. If that's all I did, I could have gotten through this pile of logs in probably 6 months. I think there was a total of about 70-ish cords, which is about what I had estimated. I think we did about 35 last year and 35 this year. And even though the main pile is gone, we still have like this pile over here. This is all stuff that is too crooked or too big to go through the Evo processor. We have a large pile sitting over here. That's all stuff that I pulled out that was really large diameter, that's borderline good to put on the sawmill. And then obviously we have the pile of logs here that we just finished cutting up down to size to put on the processor that are ready to go and get turned into firewood. But what I want to do today is, I don't just want to do just another firewood video, just cutting and splitting. You guys have seen, as impressive as this machine is, it can get a little bit repetitive to watch doing the same thing over and over again. What I want to do is check, now that these logs are 2.5 years old, I want to find out, does firewood truly season in this form? They've been sitting out here in a field for 2.5 years. I've got a couple different species because I think the results are going to be different based on species. We've got some cherry logs here in the back, some oak logs here in the front, and then this pile over here is a mix of mostly maple and beech. And then the other thing is we've got different size diameters too. I think, you know, my hypothesis is like this small little cherry log right there, if I cut that one and split it in half once and put a moisture meter on it, I'm guessing that that smaller diameter one, because it's cherry and dries faster and it's smaller diameter, that one might be ready to cut, split, and sell today. But some of the larger diameter stuff, the center of it might still be wet. And I know a lot of people think that you can dry firewood just letting it sit in a pile like this. I'm genuinely curious, so today we're going to find out. We're going to take a couple different samples, different species, different sizes, cut them open, and see what the moisture meter reading is and whether they could be cut, split, and sold in the same day. All right, we've got a small maple, a larger maple, a smaller beech. I've got a bigger beech log over there already that's probably 18-20 inches in diameter. This is a small cherry, a medium cherry, and a large cherry. And then I've got a small oak and a medium-sized oak and kind of a larger oak. So 3 oaks, 3 cherries. We're going to do 2 beeches and 2 maples. Let's take them over to the splitter, crack them open, see what the moisture looks like after 2.5 years. All right, we got everything all split up, and if there's anything grade school science class has taught me is you can't conduct an experiment without first having a hypothesis. Now, I have not put the moisture meter in any of these yet, so we're going to be looking at this together. But what I am expecting, based on my experience cutting and splitting wood for a number of years, is that maple and cherry dry out the fastest. So I'm expecting that these ones might be ready to go, but also we've got, you know, the smaller diameter and the larger diameter. So I'm thinking the smaller maple and cherries will be ready to go. I don't know about the larger diameter maples and cherries. I think they're going to be close. And then we've got the beech. We've got a small diameter and a large diameter. And then we've got the oak. And I'm expecting that the beech is going to be higher than the maples and the cherries, and that the oaks are going to be even higher than that. And I think even the smaller diameter oak is still not going to be anywhere close to being ready. So that's what I'm anticipating. Let's see how close we are. Okay, first on the list is going to be the small diameter maple. And that is reading 37%. Not even close. Way off. Okay, large diameter. Let's find a good spot to put it in here. 39%. And just so you know, these moisture meters do max out about 40%. So we might get some that say 39, 40%, and it's actually still higher than that. Let's see the cherry here. Okay, so the cherry is a little bit lower at 33% for the small diameter. 37% for the medium diameter, and the large diameter 39%. Okay, so far the answer is no. Wood does not dry out in log form. It needs to be cut, split, and stacked, even for maple and cherry. Now let's check out the beech. This is probably going to be 39% as well. Yeah, 37% there. Large diameter. Yep, 40%. I guarantee you that that is probably higher than 40%. That's just the max that this moisture meter goes to. And we all already know that the oak, yep, 37%, medium diameter, 39%, and large diameter, 39-40. So I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning before I started taking moisture meter readings, is that the goal, or what you're shooting for to be burnable, the general consensus is anything under 20% is going to burn excellent. I have operated under the assumption that anything less than 25% is acceptable. Anything under 20% is indeed excellent. I will burn stuff at 22, 23%. But yeah, none of this stuff here is ready to go. However, I do have another hypothesis that I want to test out here today, and that is that leaving your poles season in log form, I think, expedites the drying process once you do get them cut and split. Typically, your maples and cherries will take 6 to 12 months to season once they're cut, split, and stacked. Your beeches and other species, you're looking at 12 months or so. And all of this stuff that I have split and stacked here behind me was split back in February. So that's less than 4 months ago. I think all of those poles were seasoned when I split them. So I'm curious to get a moisture meeting on those after 4 months and see if cutting and splitting the seasoned poles shortens the drying time once you get it into the basket. When we started stacking wood in here, these were the first baskets that came in. So we're just gonna come over here and grab a piece right off the top. We'll pull that one out. It's a decent sized diameter, so we can go ahead and we got enough meat on the bones there to crack that one in half and get a moisture reading on the inside. Okay, so if the start of the pile was in February, we work all the way around the building, and I think we got to the other side of the building over here by about the middle of March. So there's about 45 days of seasoning time between the first baskets and the last basket. So I want to grab a couple pieces of wood out of here as well and test those. All right, now we've got a piece of beech that was cut, split, and stacked in February, a piece of beech that was cut, split, and stacked middle of March, so 45 days apart, and a piece of maple, same thing, February, March, and it is now June. So roughly 4 months, 2.5 months. Let's see what the moisture meter says. Okay, so 19% on the outside. Again, we still need to split these open and see what it says on the inside, but at least we know it's gonna catch fire. There's 19%. So again, 4 months, 2.5 months. At 2.5 months, we are reading less than 20% on the outside. And that's beech as well. That's harder than cherry. We're at 18% on the maple and 19-20% on the 2.5-month-old maple. Let's crack these open and see what they say on the inside. But again, at least we know if you were to put these in a fire, they're going to catch and burn. But if the inside is still wet, then once it does catch and get going, you might have some water boiling out of the ends and the center might be a little harder to burn. All right, I'm not going to edit any of this. We're going to jump right into it. Okay, beech. That is the fresh split side, and we're still 19-20% on both. Okay, so here's where you start to see the difference. These both were 18 to 19%. Again, this is the 4-month-old, 2.5-month-old. We're at 19% on the inside, so the 4-month-old stuff is ready to go. The 2.5-month-old is still reading 23% on the inside. So that's, you know, right below the line and above the line. Now, the maple, 19%, 19 to 20%. The maple, again, is gonna dry out a little quicker. So the beech there is, yeah, the difference there between 4 months, 2.5 months is making a difference. But again, I think my original hypothesis holds true, that letting your logs season allows them to dry out quicker once they are cut and split, because we're less than 4 months out from cutting and splitting this stuff, and it's ready to go now. It's ready to burn, sell, do whatever with. And if these were green logs that I'd come in here, there's no way that beech would be ready in 4 months after cutting and splitting it. So I think this was pretty interesting. No, you can't cut and split right into a trailer and send it out the door, but it does cut down the time that's got to sit in your yard and dry. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video interesting. It was something I was thinking about in the background here. If you did, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.